Today we'll learn about the constant of proportionality. So we've been talking about proportional relationships. We also did some graphing of those. When a proportional relationship is graphed in the coordinate plane, it will create a straight line that always intersects the origin, 0, 0. A proportional relationship can be expressed as an equation also, not just putting it into a graph. In an equation, the form it will take, it will always follow this same pattern. The y value would equal r times x. The r here represents the constant of proportionality. Well, what is that? The constant of proportionality is the ratio between y and x. It can be calculated by finding the quotient of y and its matching x value. In other words, I can calculate the constant of proportionality in a proportional relationship by doing the y value divided by the x value. When I'm saying y and x, you know what this is in a graph because you have coordinates and you have an x-axis and a y-axis. So what that looks like on a graph, this would be my x-axis, this would be my y-axis. So if I wanted to, let's say, pick a point off this graph, let's use this one here. The x value, I have gone over 7 units. So my x value is 7. And then my y value, I've gone up to 35. So there's my x and my y values. The constant of proportionality can be calculated by doing the y value divided by the x value. So let's do that here. So if I do y divided by x, I'm going to be doing 35 divided by 7. Again, this is my x value. It's going second in this form. 35 divided by 7 simplifies to 5 over 1, or just 5. Now what this means, if the x value is time and the y value is gallons of water, then what this tells me is I'm looking at gallons, because that's the y set of coordinates, per minute. So in this case, because the constant of proportionality is 5, I know that the water use is 5 gallons in 1 minute. That should look familiar to you because that's a unit rate. So another way to think of the constant of proportionality is that it's just the unit rate. This is how this looks in a table. Now, in a table, the first set of values here, these will be your x values. That's considered your input. And then the water used, or my second column, is going to be my y values. Well, in the same way I calculated my constant of proportionality from this graph, I could do this from this table as well. See here, I have a value. Again, I'm doing y divided by x, or y over x. Here, my y value is 5. My x value is 1. So I would write that as 5 over 1, just as we did here. You could select another set of points. Because it's proportional, I should have the same constant of proportionality for every single set of these points that I use. So in this one, y over x, y divided by x, 15 divided by 3 also gives me a simplified rate of 5 over 1, or 5. So there we go again, right? It's a unit rate. That is the constant of proportionality. We're saying 5 gallons in 1 minute, or 15 gallons in 3. That would be a proportional relationship. The last thing to look at with the constant of proportionality, remember up here, I told you can write this as an equation, and it takes the form y equals rx. Well, the r value is your constant of proportionality. So here we found the constant and we said that it was 5. Sorry about that. We said that it was 5. So what I do is I'm going to take the form y equals r times x And I'm just going to substitute in what values I know. Here, I substitute in the value of the R, the constant. This gives me an equation that I could use for any amount of time. What I mean by that is I can say, well, this table doesn't tell me for 20 minutes how much water I would use. So I can go into my equation and I can substitute. So I know why the total amount of water can be found by multiplying the constant of proportionality times whatever number of minutes I want to calculate for. So again, let's say that 20 minutes. Well, what is 5 times 20? 100. So that tells me that in 20 minutes, I would use 100 gallons of water. So that is the way to look at the constant from a graph, from a table, and then in an equation. So your goal on the second part of this is you are going to look at the problem situation, read over that. Here they've given you a table. Keep in mind that even though this says N to G, this is still my set of X values here, and then the grams would be my Y values. And you're going to graph this. So whatever points are in the table, graph them here. If it's a proportional relationship, it will be a straight line that goes through 0, 0. The last thing is to use either the graph that you've made or the table to find the constant of proportionality. And here you will type your equation for this relationship. The equation will be in the form y equals rx. For your final answer, you will not have an r here. Rather, you will put whatever number is the constant of proportionality.